I remember, going into those rooms where the equality law was being discussed, and like gay marriage is something that I was advocating for.
Yeah.
You can't be gay and Muslim. And I will say, well, just because my sins are different from your sins doesn't mean we're both any less Muslim than each other. There's no avenue to practice sexuality in the Middle East because it's not the culturally done thing. You don't look for it. It was never in my mind to look for sex or to have the opportunity. We compartmentalize.
Yeah.
We've put that in a compartment, like in a box. Close that box, put it in a bigger box. Put it in, and then
Smash it with a hammer.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd get it. I was hoping.
I love your tattoos.
Thank you so much. This needs to be redone, but yeah, this is.
What is it? Let me lift up your leg. Let me see.
So it's mandalas, kitty cats. There's all representations of, because my families are, like, my mom and dad were vets.
Oh, okay.
So I got animals and flowers to represent the family tree.
Oh.
My sister, my aunt, my other aunt, my younger sister is a panda in the back, and then it's going to get completed with like owls and eagles and tigers.
Can you get a lion for me?
Of course. Thank you. Get like a little bit, like a little here.
Just a little tiny lion. Hi. Get a little fish for you.
Oh wow.
Meow. That's more like it. I'm like, meow. Hi, Saif.
Hello. Hi, Faris and Josh.
My beard. Sorry. How are we? How are you doing? Thank you so much for coming, by the way.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a real privilege and a pleasure to be here. Yeah. It's my first podcast. And ever. Full stop. Yeah.
We're taking your virginity away.
Yeah, it's my first ever podcast. So I'm just
so
I'm just sitting here going, I'm like, am I the person who gets invited to podcasts now? Like, who am I? This is crazy. It's so much fun. Like, yeah, literally, hi mom. How are you? Do you know what I mean?
But you're not completely like new to media, because you were on, what was that? Celebs Go Dating.
Yes.
Well, how long ago was that?
This was last year.
Oh, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it was last year. It was in last season 13.
Okay.
Dated Stephen Webb of Gogglebox fame.
Yes. Oh, yes, yeah.
And that was so much fun.
Was it?
Yes.
What was it like being like,
how was the
2D?
process? Yeah.
It was so exciting because, like, for me, one of the hardest things, because I have my own business and I run my own company and we're responsible for like 40 people and I'm the boss.
Are you hiring?
So come over, babe. Come, Habib, dad. So for me, like, time is a precious commodity, and like, I'm so responsible for my family's well-being and for my my employees' well-being, my own well-being, and I have to like maintain a friendships with what I have, like with what time I have. So it's like, time is a precious commodity for me. And Celebs was like, hey, I'll sort out the dates for you. You just have to attend. And I'm like, bet.
Yeah, that's quite
Sign
good, yeah.
me up.
Yeah.
Where do I just turn up? I don't have to look for the man. I don't have to plan the dates. Don't have to pay for any of it. I can chill. I get a cab there. Perfect.
The perfect day.
The perfect day is where I have one where I don't have to do anything.
Yeah. Did you find love there?
I found. Do you know what? Like, I went into it really looking, because I'm really looking. I'm 37.
You don't look a day over 31.
That's what I wanted to hear.
More.
Botox. I'm 37 and I reached a point in my life where I'm like, I really want to have a partner. All my friends are partnered. Everyone's thinking, and just be kind of very vulnerable here. It's like, when all your friends are partnered and every single one of my friendships, like, they all have partners, they're all together, they're all coupled up. I'm like the only one who isn't.
Okay.
So it does feel like, you feel like a third wheel everywhere you go, and you feel, it feels so lonely. And I'm like, I just want someone to like back me up. Like,
my corner.
Like, we can see each other Wednesdays and Saturdays, no problem. But like, just in my corner, like, yes, I have one.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
I've got one.
Do you want two?
Yeah.
You can have two of us.
Oh my god, done. Done. Like, I'll send you my schedule.
Perfect. Oh, that's fine though. You can live your Bridget Jones dreams. Yeah. Like where you're at the dinner table at the end and they're like, "What's it like being single at 37?" And you're just like, fuck off.
Literally, I'm gay and tired.
I'm gay and tired.
I'm gay and tired, guys. Like, seriously.
Oh, bless you. There is something about, I said this earlier, the way you talk, your energy, your look, it's so
likable. Yeah, very.
Like, I'm just like, I love you. Yeah, let's be friends. Yeah.
Trauma.
Oh no.
Trauma.
There's always trauma.
It's always
talk to us. What happened?
So, I'm, British Iraqi, and I do say it like that in a very, I am British first, then I'm an Iraqi. I'm of Iraqi birth and origin. We left Iraq when I was 3 years old. My earliest memory is, bombs going off the hotel that we were sheltering at because, it was 1990. And then this is the beginning of all the shenanigans that occurred there.
Yeah.
And then, then I just remember being ushered to Dubai where we lived for 14. So when I was like 14, 15. And then when we just looked at what Dubai's prospects were and what we were as Iraqis there. And my mom was like, what do? I can't keep the kids here. There's no future for them here. They will not be able to maintain and stay and live a full, complete life here.
Yeah.
And then mom made the decision to kind of be like, well, we do have ancestry in Britain. And we do have a case where we are, seeking asylum from what happened in Iraq. So let's immigrate to Britain. And thankfully, we applied for asylum, and here we are.
What was it like when you first came? Like, what did you think of the UK?
It happened over a period of 2-3 weeks. Like it was a snap.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have time to think about what we didn't have time to adjust or think. There was no preparation to it whatsoever.
Okay.
It was a decision made within thing, and the decision was made to go, and then we just went. It was like survivorship mode.
Okay.
So when we arrived to the UK, culturally speaking, I was like, where am I?
Yeah.
You're 15. You're gay.
Yeah.
You're Arab, you're presented with all of this entirely different culture and experience, and you're like, what do you know? Who am I?
Yeah, because your main experience is in the Middle East.
Yeah, it's in the Middle East, and it's like, well, who am I? Who am I? Firstly, who am I, and what does that mean? Because I'm just coming to terms with my sexuality, and then secondly, who am I as a person in England? And what does English society think? Because I had completely different culture, like completely different mindsets and different priorities to someone who grew up here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Also, I just want to point out, Dubai, when you lived there, is not the Dubai that we know now.
Yes.
Just in case because it's in the 90s, right?
Yes. So yeah.
So it's quite different. And
Okay.
also the reason, as far as I'm aware, that you didn't have a future there is because you can't get the passport.
Yes, So, like, to explain that, if you immigrated to Dubai back in the 90s, there was, I think it's important to talk about Dubai's structure as a society. Dubai is a minority society. There's only 10% of the people who live there are nationals, are from Emiratis, from the land.
Yeah.
And then everybody else, 90% of the nationals are from everywhere else.
Yeah.
And they live there. So Dubai sort of looked at the world, and this might sound like a justification for the way they set up, and it's not a justification for the way they set up, but Dubai looked at the world and saw how it was structured and what happens to minorities with wealth. It looked at the world and it looks at the world, what happens to minorities with wealth. It has just discovered it had oil, and it said, right, we are fucked. Like, sorry to say, we are fucked. You're 10%. You're a very small community who are segregated by states because, Dubai is part of the United Arab Emirates, which sets up as 5 different states, and each has a sheikhdom, which is all different things. And they're like, we are so vulnerable. We are not going to survive. We are not going to survive. Any Western influence from anywhere, or never mind Western influence, any Middle Gulf influence will destroy us. We have no army, we have no education, we have no skills, no nothing. So they set up their society in a way where they prioritize the well-being of their nationals. So if you emigrate to Dubai, you can have a visa to work there, but you'll never be a national. You'll never have a passport. And the nationals who live there will live on a different tier.
Yeah.
So that is one of the reasons why my mother said, my mother was looking at the entire thing, and she was like, she was saying, I can't bring my kids up here because they will never be nationals.
Yeah.
They will, no matter how much of their lives they will dedicate to this place, they will never be nationals. And she never ever felt it was this in a bad way. Because
Just factually.
Yeah. Just factually, she's like, because, I think there has to be something to be said about how grateful we are that Dubai took us in. We are refugees fleeing from war with nothing on our backs. Nothing. So, and I like, and I have like deep love for that place. And I understand that there is marginalized people there. I understand that there are human rights abuses there. I understand that there's always good that comes with bad, but I cannot for the life of me go, I have any hatred or any sort of vindication or sort of resentment to that city, because out of all the countries in the world, that was the only one that took us in.
Yeah.
And as a person who's trying to survive, who if we talk about equality, for example, I have a right to life.
Yeah.
We have a right to life. We have a right to survive, to live.
Yeah.
So, and Dubai is like, come live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can one be ungrateful?
Yeah.
Do you know?
100%,
I think there's always going to be issues. It just tends to be that issues within countries that might be already in the public eye for being oppressive or having issues, it tends to be much more, like magnified.
Absolutely.
So there are issues there. There's workers' rights issues. There's arguments of modern day slavery. There are issues, but there's issues in every country.
Yeah.
And there's fights that need to be had for liberation in every country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not just standalone Dubai. Like you could say that about most countries around the world. Yeah.
I just want to reiterate how important it is to consider the context of the history of everything.
Yeah.
Because I find sometimes when people make a criticism and you can always and you're so welcome to have a constructive criticism of something. But when you ignore the entire context of what that country has gone through, or how it is developed, or who the people there are, and what their priorities are, you lose value. You do yourself such a disservice when you deliver your message. And you will hear it, and I'm sure that you guys have experiences from that in last episode, because I've been reading the comments, and you see comments come up, it's like human rights abuses are human rights abuses, equality is equality, and I'm like, great, thank you for saying that. I see you, I hear your message. I love that you're interested in social justice. I love it. I really do love it. But the language you are using to say those words does not translate to the message that you're trying to deliver.
Yeah.
Because I know that the people who said those things, they do not mean ill intent with it. They do not mean ill intent with it. But the language they use, they're trying to weaponize equality or weaponize the way that these words have value, destroys their entire concept.
100%.
And that's the heartbreaking thing about it, because, as I said, I'm legally trained.
Yeah.
And when we talk about justice, when we talk about social justice, when we talk about equity, when we talk about equality, when we talk about these things, I think it is so important to remember that, there's a moral and philosophical, legal and principle that intermarry to create this concept. And these concepts are such on a very high academic level that when you use their definitions to the lay person who doesn't understand the entire context of the conversation, they will they'll not understand it, and you lose the value that it gives.
Yeah.
So, and this is why, and this applies to everything, if we look at, for example, toxic masculinity, the phrase toxic masculinity, what has that done for men? It's destroyed them, Male suicides are, God knows, you can see the statistics on those. And, and it goes back to kind of like, well, what's the problem with what's being said? It's like toxic masculinity is understood on an academic level. But when you say toxic masculinity to Ben from Dagenham, what does he understand from that?
He doesn't really understand what it actually means.
He doesn't understand what toxic. He just hears the word toxic and he hears masculinity. Therefore, toxic means masculinity means it's toxic. But that's not it. No.
Yeah.
That's not what we mean. So this is what I say when when you speak on social justice issues, or when you're trying to defend people and the marginalized and the people who have experienced hate, because Ben Ben from Dagenham has experienced, he's a product of poverty. Like he's also marginalized in a different sense. His family's working class. His dads have fought war. He's lost people and his story is, if you take away his story is the same as others who are trying to survive in the world.
Yeah.
And when you speak to Ben and Ben is your friend. Ben is your friend. He's your ally. Ben's working class. He believes in you. And when and this is like why I get so frustrated when people like you speak on social justice with like hatred.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like a contradiction itself.
Yeah, it's like a contradiction itself, and like and it's just very sad and very you it's like when you go back to you do yourself a real disservice, and you do justice a disservice when you use language that alienates people who are meant to be your friends. Do you know that's really heartbreaking? Like because I'm sure like you call like like if we talk about privilege, or racism, and like academically, I understand the fact that there are constructs that privilege a certain type of people, but when you go to bed and tell him you have white privilege, what does he hear?
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I don't have any privilege. My life has been hard.
There you go.
It's the top down. I think that's kind of the conversation I've had about toxic masculinity and about feminism.
Yeah.
It's the understanding from a privileged perspective of being able to be that educated and to that level where you understand them as social constructs and you understand them, their intersections. But when you're on Instagram calling these things out, it becomes so linear. And there's no
understanding about
there isn't. You can't argue it properly because people don't have the time to understand it.
They don't have the time to understand it, and education is not. It's a privilege. To be able to understand these things on that level is a blessing. Like you have to have the brain, the capacity, the time to know it.
That's true.
And like it's it takes years of study and to kind of get to that point, or in our cases, experience is our greatest teacher. And it's I feel for Ben because Ben is just hearing all of this
and just feeling attacked
and then he's being shamed almost by being who he is. And what has shame and guilt done for anyone? We as gay men, what has shame done for us? What has shame and guilt done? And then you're trying to use the same kind of shame and guilt on someone else who's meant to be your friend. If someone bullied you and then you bully others, you're still a bully, babes.
It's just a vicious cycle again and again.
And then and then this marries into kind of like philosophy. What did Gandhi say? An eye for an eye, and the world goes blind. What does Nelson Mandela say? What does Rosa Parks say? What does Martin Luther King say? Anybody who's ever fought for social justice, what did they all say? Stop hating. And for those people who do leave these kind of comments, this is constructive criticism, because some people will take the position, you're what's the tone policing? Yeah, you're tone policing, or you're whitewashing, or whatever. No, we're trying to tell you that we hear you. We hear you using the words that we believe in social justice. We believe in equality. We believe in all those things, but like the things you're saying are not conducive to your message. And it's not translating the way you think it's translating. So use better language and like you're tone policing with that. I'm like, no, I'm asking you to clarify. I'm not asking you to educate. I'm like, it's my job to educate. I'm not asking you to educate. I'm asking you to clarify.
And I think it's important. Like the community is good and it is there for you, but I think it is important to be like internally critique the community. I think it is important to be aware of your internalized masculinity, homophobia, whatever it is, because you can't help it. You're human. You're going to have.
We all have something.
Like I know I definitely did. I had to work through my like masculinity and my idea of what a man is, and as a gay man, how does that navigate, and because of the Arab background. So as long as we're growing and learning from each other, like you said about Ben, my friend Ben.
Sorry, Ben.
It's true. It's like I can fully well feel hurt by the fact that Ben might think that I'm stupid for being okay with minimizing myself in Dubai as a gay person. But to me, I'm not minimizing. That's who I still act the same. I still do what I want to do. I'm just not that kind of gay that's that outwardly. Ben might be, and so he's uncomfortable with that. I should then feel bad for just masking Ben with the same white brush as all other white people. Let's say like, oh well, that's of course how you're going to think because this is how all of you think. We're all guilty of it. We have to be aware of that and work through it.
Very much so. And like what you just said about, painting that brush, dismissing somebody's opinion or dismissing Ben, for example, just because he is of a certain type of person. That is when you're starting to lose
love.
You lose love. You lose your footing on the social justice platform, that's when you start going, no, you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
As
and then it's just like back and forth. You're both,
I'm guilty of that though.
but
we all are.
And trying to work through it is the difference, you know, not being ignorant to it.
We all are, because these things are inherently very emotional. Like, you know, there's the logical brain that thinks in logic, and then there's the emotional. You know, we're traumatized, we're hurt, we've seen things, and you know, like as a gay man, but just a gay man, they've seen things.
Yeah.
As a gay man who's also Arab, they've seen things.
Yeah.
As a gay disabled man who's an Arab, they've seen things. You know, there's a different level to everything, and you know, like you got to be very, very, very self-aware of what it is you're saying or how you speak it. And like my go-to is like because I find myself getting quite emotional and quite, you know, angry and quite very like sometimes I feel quite resentful. And I always, like, you know, whenever I say something, or especially on the internet, or if I was, you know, to say something to anybody, I always say, okay, right, am I saying this from a place of love, or from where is this coming from? I always check myself. I'm like, is this coming from a place of love?
I check myself when I still do it.
But yeah, like,
it's like ego. I'm like, it's coming from ego, but fuck this bitch. Yeah. Hate you. And then like delete it straight after. Like, I'm interested. You mentioned. Do you want to talk about your involvement in like the lawmaking or because that's interesting. So you have a different, I guess, angle on equality because you were involved in some of the lawmaking of that.
So, you know, when I moved to the UK at 15 years old, and you know, it was just like I said, I was trying to find myself, find out who I am and what it is I want to do in my life. I decided I was just trying to find my feet. It's like, what it is I'm meant to do here. Why am I here? What is the reason for my story? Like, what is my story? And it became clear to me when I went to sixth form. Like, I was, you know, I just joined in year 11, then started sixth form. I was going to go into medicine, and medicine didn't click with me because physics, what?
Ew.
Chemistry, what? Equals MC what? What does that mean?
Why would you need that?
Ask my sister, she's the engineer. And I thought to myself, this is not matching up. Then I remember Mrs. Rainey, God bless your soul if you're watching this, Mrs. Rainey. she
dead.
No, she was I don't know where she is. I don't know where she is. I don't know where she is. She's not.
Because you said God rest her soul if she's watching. I was like, wait,
God
what?
Bless her soul. She was a lawyer. She was a trained lawyer. She became a teacher. Nice. And then it was through her, and she inspired me.
I love that.
She inspired me. She saw the intersections in my identity, and then she inspired me to go into law. Sort of, you know, took pride in my identity as a British national.
Okay.
And that's how I became like a British Iraqi, because I then was like, I'm going to dedicate my life to learning about this. And then I did. Went to Brussels, you know, was part of that.
How did you feel? Like, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
I'd be so like...
Honestly, it was, I think, the proudest moment of my life. And, you know, like, you know, for example, let's talk about the Equality Act. I remember, you know, going into those rooms where the equality law was being discussed, where it's being advocated for. And, you know, I was standing there as a gay man, legally qualified man, just trying to give a perspective on this topic. And like, gay marriage is something that I was advocating for.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's quite cool that, like, you know, the gay marriage that we have today is something that I worked on. Like,
that is crazy.
Way back. And I'm like,
who is British Iraqi as well.
Yes.
Guys.
And that came from like a British Iraqi.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know, if you want to flex on me, try.
That's so cool.
How was it being, like, what was the conversation? Like,
what is that?
Talk us through.
Yeah.
You know, it was a very diverse group of people who was there, and they were like younger, older, you know, and we were talking about like the age of consent as well, to lower that, the age of consent. We were looking for, like, you know, Alan Turing's pardon, because Alan Turing was gay. There was a lot of things that was going on at the same time.
Okay.
And, you know, gay culture was moving such a fast pace. It was happening and things were happening, but you know, there was a lot of pushback on restrictions, saying not this, not that, not this. And, you know, this is a conversation that will take us 3-4 hours, by the way. But how was it? It was emotional. difficult, scary, because you have these people control everything.
Yeah.
And you're trying to advocate for something, and like the fear though, like, and this is why I'm so passionate about advocacy and the language you use, because you got to present your argument in a way that doesn't destroy what it is you're trying to represent.
Yeah.
And that is so crucial, because if you've ever been to court, every lawyer who's ever been to court is petrified by the judge, petrified by it, petrified. We walk in cold sweat, shaking hands, because we know that if we do the one word, if we don't put the right words together in the right way, we've destroyed the case.
Oh shit.
That's how
Stress. Yeah. I feel it.
That's the weight of advocacy.
Yeah.
This is the weight of advocacy. So this is how heavy it is, how heavy of a burden you carried. So you got to be so careful, and we were so careful in what we were saying and how we were presenting, because at any time can go, nah, you're done. It was honestly it was probably, at the time, I was so involved in community. I've organized pride parades, was a steward in them, built up communities, societies, blah blah blah. It's like like very
blah,
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 blah, blah. Like I was like very. It was very kind of like part of my core identity to showcase my love and affection for our country, and showcase my love and affection for the people that I give it equity in justice, and do something from myself to give back as a thank you for what Britain gave to me.
See, that's cute. Yeah. And that's the thing, like I feel like we're almost not allowed to say that we are proud to be British, and we're actually happy that the laws are the way they are here, and that doesn't mean that we don't want those, and like for example, Jordan, of course I would want it to be more liberal, but it's about understanding the culture and context. But I can also be proud to be British, and how free it
and
can
how
be
we
here.
Can live the way we do here. 100%.
But I feel like you're almost, as soon as you're of color, sometimes it feels like you're just not allowed to have that opinion, and it's like that whole argument sometimes where if I say I don't agree with something the government's doing, these are like very ignorant random people will be like, well, go back to your country.
Literally,
But you're allowed to critique the government. Why aren't I allowed
because you're
to
of
critique?
colour, it's like, no, you're not really English, so you can't have an opinion on it.
Yeah, and it's like, you have that, and you have where there's like, you're using, what, you're trying to shame me for being British?
Yeah.
Like you shame me for being gay?
Yeah.
Like you shame me for having ADHD? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then not only that, you have people who on the left side of the field who are ashamed to be British, who are British and are ashamed to be British.
Yeah.
And you're like, why are you ashamed of being a British national? It's your flag, it's your country. Fight for it. Fight for what you believe in.
100%.
And I'm like, bro, like, I love and I'm like, oh, but our culture, our history. I'm like, because once I start learning about colonialism, imperialism, they're like they're like, oh God, we're evil. Yeah. But I'm like, that's not all we are, though. Yeah. We are the British hearth. We are our mythology is beautiful. Our culture is fantastic. London's summer. Is there anything more beautiful than London in the summer?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know, people love to shit over the weather, but on the perfect day in London, wow.
Yeah. There's, it's, and do you know what really pisses me off? Like when the Americans make fun of British food, I'm like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Like bangers and mash, how dare you? How dare you?
I love fish and chips.
Fish and chips, or like Brighton ice cream and seagulls swooping. Like, how dare you? That's our food, bro.
I want to talk a little bit about you coming out when you realised, and how it was with the family.
Right.
Yeah.
I realised when I hit puberty. I was 11.
Oh, so you were still in Dubai at this point?
Yeah, still Dubai. I was like, realized, and I'm like, I'm very confused. Like, I remember, it was much earlier actually. I remember being in the playground with friends, and the boys were like, oh, she's cute. I'm like, he's cute. I'm like, he's cute. He's cute. I'm like, oh, he's cute. And they're like looking at me going,
Oh, you said it out loud?
Yeah.
They're like,
damn.
So that's when I realized, like, maybe something. Cause I didn't have a definition of what gay was.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't. What? Confused. And then as time went on, I was like, oh, that's what this is.
I'm gay.
In the legendary words of Gaga, Shiza.
Was it you that, this is so off topic, was it you that did that video about you can't live your whole life on poppers and cars? I love that video. It cracked me up so much when you said that. I was like, this is such a random video, but perfect.
I love it.
Perfect.
Because Gaga just dropped the tickets for her sale,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then the people haven't slept for 3 days trying to get them. And I'm like, sweetie, please drink some water, please.
Yeah, that was
I'm
it,
back.
drink water, yeah,
Drink
yeah.
water, I'm
That
back.
was so good.
Like, you've just come from a weekend, please. I'm back.
And just right after Beyonce as well, honestly. Right, sorry, back to trauma.
Yeah, so back to trauma. So I realized very early on that I was, one of them. And, that was obviously, and like, that was sort of relevant and irrelevant at the same time because, there's no avenue to practice your sexuality in the Middle East because it's just not the done thing. It's not the culturally done thing. It's a conservative, you don't look for it. It was never in my mind to look for sex or to have the opportunity. I'm like, I want to get married and have kids. That's my priority. I want to be there for my family. And I was trying to understand how gayness would work with that and with my faith as well. So how those components work. And then when I moved to the UK, where it's like a liberal city, I was like, wait, what? Wait, what? I want to partake. Give me. Like, do you know what I mean? Coming out was a horrific horror.
So there was
show.
no experiences while you ended nothing
No,
at all.
nothing,
Just, okay, it's only
nothing.
okay.
So we moved, because like I said, we were in survivor mode there.
Yeah.
So you just focus on surviving, and
Yeah.
like when you're trying to, survivor, when you're surviving something, there's you only need the basic necessities to survive, and then things like love, affection, it's irrelevant to your survivorship. You just need to survive this.
Okay.
So when we got here, we were still in survivor mode. And then it was only when I became like 18, 19, I started going to uni. That's when shenanigans started happening.
Okay.
Fun shenanigans?
Of course.
Yay! I love that for young Saif.
But like, I remember, but school was horrific. Yes,
Oh, really?
school was horrific because, I was, you join at year 11. And, do you remember your year 11?
You joined at year 11?
I joined at year 11.
Shit. Okay, yeah.
Everyone knows it's already, yeah.
Everybody knows everybody. People are interested. I was severely overweight with lots of acne. Was not pretty like now. Hi. And it's they're like, people are uninterested. Like, who cares? We're leaving in a couple of months.
Oh yeah, true.
Who cares? We're leaving in a couple of months.
No.
And then you know why I referenced Dagenham? Because guess where we landed when we got here? Dagenham.
Next to Ben.
Next to Ben.
Ben.
And it was, I told one girl, and she spread like wildfire.
Oh no.
And that destroyed me. And then also I got put into hospital because I was gay bashed.
Oh no, at school?
It wasn't at school. It was I was with school friends, and then a bunch of guys who knew us as a group because we were like all emos.
Right.
Because alternative, you've rejected culture now.
Yeah.
They
Like
reject
something, yeah.
Yeah, like I've been rejected by society. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, gay and immigrant, and cool, bro. Fine, I'll just become an emo then.
Where's my eyeliner?
Where's my eyeliner? Where's Evanescence? And I remember, we were all like emos, just in our hoodies and whatnot, and a bunch of quote unquote chavs saw us, and they knew what we represented, so they came and bashed. And I was
because you were emos, or
because they knew who we were.
Oh, I see.
They knew who I was because they were from school.
Okay.
And they you're both emo and gay. Like,
Yeah.
you're like the piñata. You're like the piñata of society.
Oh god.
Oh
my god.
And then I was got put into hospital.
Oh, bless you.
But also, and then what's wild about it is like like I didn't remember until you just asked me. I didn't
Really?
I didn't remember. No, I never remember. Because I will look at, statistics of violence towards LGBT society.
Yeah.
I'll look at statistics. I'm like, oh my God, I really feel for these people. And then until you just asked me just now, I'm like, oh shit, I'm one of them.
I think that's so common with people because when we first met, for example, like I remember he said, oh, what was school like? And I was like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like it was just like, okay, like I was just like normal, like nothing really happened. And it's only as like we spoke about school more and more, and I'm like, oh no, 100% was bullied my whole life for being gay and had trauma from that.
I was like, I think you were bullied, Josh, and he was like, really?
No, they didn't. And I was like, oh my god, no, yeah, 100%. But I feel like a lot of us, like our brains just shut it out. It's like it's too much to really deal with, I guess.
We compartmentalize.
Yeah,
we've put that in a compartment, like in a box. Close that box, put it in a bigger box, put it in, and then
smash it with a hammer.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd get it. I was hoping.
I love that you said that.
Yeah, so we put it in a bigger box, and then we smashed it with a hammer. Legit though.
I quote that so much. Right now, just
wrong level.
Yeah, that is true, unfortunately. But so during school, like when did you come out to your family, like parents and stuff? Was that school or later?
So mum found out. She didn't come out. Mum found out.
How?
Because you're 17, you got all these urges, and there's a computer. And,
damn it! There's so many times this happens to people.
I was so careful. Not
careful enough.
I was deleting all the history, all the cliches, all the everything. Guess what I didn't delete? The bloody drop down box. Do you put in
on Google or something? Yeah, it saves your last
G. Gay. I'm like, no. And then mom was like, what is this? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, you lie. And then she found out. And then,
so she just came to you and was like, I see this. Like, what? Oh, wow.
She I think she was more pissed off at the fact I was watching
porn in general.
Yeah. Versus watching, because she's like, disgusting behavior. What a man. Ew.
Yeah.
Okay. And versus being very offended by the gay thing. And,
right.
And then she found out, and then my life was hell for about 10 years until I was 30. Yeah, she, like, oh God. She
as in she didn't agree.
No.
Okay, see.
No, but like, Mama didn't hate me for being gay. She hated what gay meant for me. Because she knew gay as AIDS. She knew gays as victimization. She knew gay as...
Yeah, because when is this? When, like, what year?
1885.
Girl.
The way he's asking is like, what year is this? Like,
no, you sound like a historical relic.
No, but this is
2000.
Like early 2000, which is just after like the AIDS. So it's a lot more prevalent than it would be now. That's
because also like mom doesn't have education on that. Like our mothers don't have education on that. They barely had the internet. They just we were the generation that grew up with the computer. We are the ones who used them. We millennials.
Yeah.
We remember dial-up. Yeah, which is such a vibe. I love it. It tickles my brain. And mom didn't necessarily quite get it until she moved to the UK, and she got to computer courses where she learned how to use the computer and then had access to information. But from mom's perspective, she's like, oh God, you're gonna die. And that's what and then she's like after everything I did to make you survive, you're gonna die. So she took it out.
Oh no. So for 10 years.
Yeah, for 10 years.
Wow.
Mama was very difficult.
Is your dad...
But dad passed away when I was 25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he passed away in Dubai, and we couldn't go see him.
Sorry. Oh.
Yeah, we couldn't go see him, and it was only last minute because I was in the middle of my legal practice.
Okay.
And he was there, we were here, because he was just trying to support us from there.
Right, okay.
Because we didn't have, like, it's one mother, 3 kids. Dad's there. Dad couldn't move because Dad, I don't have income to support us there. What do I do? He's like, he was working in Dubai, sending us cash so we can survive here, so we can have a better future. And then, he died on his own.
I'm sorry.
And it's like, and this is like the stories, the heartbreaking stories of the realities of what it's like to immigrate and leave the country of origin and be displaced, and that people don't hear, that they don't know. And these, like, we've seen things. When we say we've seen things.
And it's just your life. Yeah. It's only when you, like you say, when you start talking about it, you realise, but you living it, it's just like, that's a part of history you've always known. Yeah,
that's just, and for me, like, that's very normal. Like, this is just what I know. And, then people, when they look at me like, oh, you must be so traumatized. I'm like, oh, not really. I don't define myself by my traumas. I don't define myself by traumas. For me, like, life is not about winning or losing. There's life. You do it or you don't.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Did you ever discuss it with your dad, or did he?
No, he never knew.
He never knew. Okay.
Yeah, he never knew. I think he did mention to my sister. he did mention something about homosexuality because he was a very smart man. He was a professor of veterinary science.
Oh wow.
So, you know, he was a very, very smart man. So he had like an inkling. He's like, he's never talked to me about his girlfriends or sex in general.
Yeah.
This is a conversation dads have with their sons. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, he did mention to my sister because my sister and him were very close, and I'm close with my mum.
Okay.
So she, you know, we had an honest, candid conversation about it, and then she explained to me what her fear was, and she, you know, she did apologize for what happened, but then I did have like resentment and hatred towards her for what she did to me. But then I sit now as an adult. I think, Mama, you were just trying to survive, you know?
Yeah.
And I understand, like, some of this might be a romanticization, is that the word? Where you're trying to romanticize your traumas. But I just look at her and I think, Mama, you were just a single woman raising 3 kids on your own.
Yeah.
And not understanding. Like
Yeah.
you say, like she didn't understand.
You just don't get
yeah.
it.
And there's
And the
like,
culture doesn't allow, like, there's so many levels
there's so many
which you can
layers.
understand it. It doesn't mean you have
Yeah.
to accept it, but you can understand where
I
they're
can
coming
understand it, and like like we were saying, like we're all human, we're all infallible to mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and no, and like, and I think you know, holding a woman to that level of standard of perfection is misogyny. Do you know what I mean? It's all, if you start hating, it's all feeds into the same cycles of things.
Yeah, so hard to always lead with love though.
know,
Everyone
yeah.
says that though. If you lead with love, and it does, when you do it, when you master it, it does feel better. Even the people that really have done you wrong, if you just wish them the best and understand it's not personal, it sounds simple, but it's hard to do. I think that's the thing that most people find.
It is definitely a learned skill. You know, like love is a skill you learn to do. It's not something that you just sort of, you know, it's something you have to practice doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, love is an intention. When you practice with love, when you do something with love, it is an intentional. It's an intent you do. It is not something that you sort of like expect to happen. Like, it's a discipline.
Yeah,
It's not.
I choose to.
I choose to love. I will always choose to love. So I just chose to love my mother, and chose to love everything she's done, the good and the bad. I forgive her for everything, you know. And then my mother became sick. You know, she became sick in the last 5 years. So this is just as I came out, like just as things were getting good between us.
Yeah.
2 years later, she was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia.
What's that?
It's like Alzheimer's, but it's very, very quickly progressing.
Okay.
And she was 55 when it hit.
Oh,
So she was
wow,
so young.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens to women who have suffered what my mom has suffered. The stress of everything.
So much stress.
The stress, and I'm part of the reason why she's unwell, because, you know, the stress of me, and I take ownership of the fact of I added to that, and this is when you begin to see how, like, you know, you're connected to everything.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, I don't know if it's my place, but I would say, however you would like your healing journey to be is up to you.
Yeah.
But it's good of you to understand, but it is always so that we're all responsible for our emotions and stress. So it is always a choice that person makes. And it's easy to blame yourself for something, but you're not responsible for someone's reaction or someone else's emotional reaction or stress to a situation. I would just say that because I feel like that really resonated, and it took me a while to realize we're all responsible.
Yeah.
So if you said something now that would offend me or really stress me out, it's my responsibility how I cope with those feelings and emotions, and it's not your responsibility.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put too much
like
on yourself.
I completely understand that as a logical principle.
Yeah.
But like as an emotional one.
Yeah.
That's a
of
different
course.
story.
I know. I just don't want you to put that on yourself.
Yeah, like no, I
It's
understand.
really sad.
I completely understand.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I want to just kind of reiterate that, like, logically, I understand the dynamics there. I understand that what she chose or how she chose to feel is one thing, or how I choose to feel or how I choose is one thing. But I also understand that emotionally, that's quite hard to navigate.
Yeah.
Because emotions are emotions. You just gotta
Yeah.
feel them, you know.
Yeah,
You just gotta feel them
of
and
course.
process them. It's very hard to kind of, you know, give that kind of like command yourself to feel a certain way. 'Cause you just feel the way you feel.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
but yeah, so Mom became unwell, and then I became her guardian, her healer, her nurse, her everything. And that's just the circle of life. She took care of me when I was a baby, when I was helpless, and now I'm taking her when she's helpless.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of poetic in its own sense.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's so cute.
Yeah, I love my mama. She's so adorable.
Oh, I love that. Are you religious?
Yes.
What's your religion?
Muslim.
How is that navigating, gay
And also, how is that with dating in England?
So, how am I finding it culturally? Like with other men? Like I just, it's not something we discuss. You know, it's like I just don't eat pork. I don't, I don't drink that often. You know, it's not a topic of. It's not something I open with them. It's like, I'm Muslim. That's my business. Is none of yours.
Yeah.
You know.
And that doesn't matter if you were to see a future with them. You know, you mentioned that marriage and kids was important to you. Is that still a thing?
Yeah, so it's not important because it's personal to me. Okay. And I wouldn't want to impose it on anyone. You know, it's not something. It's not something for them, or it starts at me, it stops at me, and that's it. It's my box. Yeah. And it's the principles I live by. You know, I'll fast, I'll pray, I'll do what I need to do. And you know, like you'll probably get some comments saying you can't be gay and Muslim, and on that I will say, well, just because my sins are different from your sins doesn't mean we're both any less Muslim than each other. Yeah. So like, just like take it easy, brothers and sisters. Take it easy. But yeah, it's something very personal to me. It's something very kind of like I keep close to me, and a lot of it has to do with grief, I must say. A lot of it has to do with grief. Like throughout the years, I've lost so many friends who have like completed suicide, or we've lost them through accident, or we've lost them through addiction, or we've lost them through whatever. And I think a part of me has to have some faith that we will see each other again. Yeah. And I think, you know, whether it's true or untrue, I don't really care.
What does it matter? You'll be dead.
Yeah. What does it matter? I don't really care. Yeah. But I want to live in a state where I have hope that I'll see his face again. Yeah. Do you know, like I loved him so much in this life and in the next. I'll love him so much. Yeah. And I really hope that my faith will take me to him, or will take us to each other. We'll see each other again in whatever capacity that may be. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I think it's a testament to my love to that guy and to others who we have lost. And I think as a community, as a gay community, we have lost many people to a lot of things. I think you guys had a topic with Dan about chemsex. And the people that we constantly lose to that, you know, epidemic. Yeah. And you know, if you think it's not going to happen to you, life will humble you very quickly. Yeah. Yeah. Life will humble you very quickly. So yeah.
No, that's beautiful. I love that. I think to, I guess, like finish off a little bit of lightheartedness.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to ask your attachment styles. Maybe we can do a little dating thing and find you someone who watches your content and be like, I'm single, give me Saif. You're single, right?
Yes, I am single. Yeah. I'm very looking. Not desperately, though. Don't need you.
I'm not desperate. No. Saif is very handsome and smells amazing. So what's your attachment style? Don't scare them off. What's your attachment style?
So I have a secure attachment style it will start off anxious until we've established the principles of trust and loyalty, and then secure. Because if anything life has taught me is trust no bitch. Yeah. So trust no bitch. And that's I'm anxiously attached until I can see the security between us, and then once it's secure, then I'll have faith in you. Okay. This is one of the first things I ask on a date. Yeah, I'm like, so how are you crazy to live with?
How are you crazy to live with?
Yeah, how are you crazy? Or like, how are you crazy? Like, tell me how are you crazy? Okay. And it's like, I'm not crazy at all. I'm like, red flag.
You can't handle this. Yeah.
We're a bit cuckoo.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, Josh, you don't exist at the moment. I'm at a bar.
Yeah.
And I'm just like sipping my drink.
Yeah.
Approach me.
Approach you? Yeah. Are you with friends or are you on your own?
I'm on my own. My friend's in the toilet.
Your friend's in the toilet?
Josh is in the toilet.
Yeah, I'm not here.
I'll be like, okay, so you're doing it. I'll see you.
Yeah.
Eye contact.
Okay.
Yeah, eye contact. Clocks you immediately, straight line.
Oh, okay.
There's no hesitation.
Now I'm scared. No, backing away.
No hesitation. I mean, like, we've seen each other.
Yeah.
See what's the clocks you.
So you just like come straight towards it.
If I see Yeah, that they're looking. That the one, two, and they three. On the third one, I'm making a beeline to you.
What would you say though? That's what I always find interesting with a child. Like, what would you actually say to someone?
I will just be like, "Hi, what are you drinking?" Or I'll compliment, or I'll just say, "I really like your hair," or "I really like your eyes," or I'll just go open with a compliment. I'm like,
do you get a lot of?
It depends. Do I get a lot of people approaching me?
Or do you get like a lot of because I feel like you're quite charismatic. Like
yeah, like a lot of people interesting. Like you can see like people are looking or like.
And you come over and be like, hey, what you do? Like, I like your hair. Like I feel like straight away they'd be like,
oh my god,
it's so dry, guys.
Oh,
really?
So dry.
Are you going out and trying though?
It's yeah. I mean, like I take ownership of the fact, my situation. I take ownership of that because, as I said, quite chaotic and like my time is very precious. But yeah, it's I will get people approaching me, but not the kind of people I want to approach me.
Oh, okay.
Why?
Just
your type.
they're looking for like a fun time.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm more on the demi scale, so like a bit of a demisexual, where I really like I said, build a secure attachment, like
Right.
you build something with somebody, and like if I'm looking for fast food sex, I can find it easily overnight, like that, like it's not hard.
Yeah.
But I don't want fast
Just
food.
got hungry when you said that.
Scrap that.
And like I really try to find something more. Like I've tasted that really secure fun where you're really looking into each other and you're having that passionate, intimate sex that you can only have with someone who knows you and knows everything about you, and you're like,
yeah.
and then you want to match that up to a fumble.
Yeah.
Is there any last words, anything you want to say, any advice you'd give to your younger self?
For my younger self, probably forget him for a minute. But I do want to say, for any young person out there who's struggling or who's going through something, please stop doing it alone. Don't be a hero. Nobody needs you to be a hero. That's one thing. I want you to stop being alone. I want you to know that it does get better. Cliched, but it does get better. You will find yourself in a space where you are able to handle things better. Life gets better? No. Yes, who knows? But life will steel you to handle things better. And for the community, just god damn, use better language, guys.
Yeah.
It's like, stop hating, because you just please stop the hate, because it's not serving us on any metric we look at it. And I know this is not who we are. I really do know this is not who we are, and I do not want to see us in a place where we lose those things, because you can see what's happening with the alt-right. Like it's scary. We're entering a space now where we really need to come together as a community, and we start speaking to each other, and we just bring the temperature down.
Yeah.
And talking to each other with compassion and love, because anything else it's just going to be a disastrous result.
Yeah.
So those are my final words, and date me, please date me.
Yeah, thank you. We'll leave his number below. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching and listening. Make sure you subscribe and all that jazz, and we'll catch you next Monday. Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.